And welcome to CAM Media, Conservative Arkansas Media. Thanks so much for being with us. My name is Paul Harrell. We got a great show for you. Coming up, we're going to be talking with State Representative Mary Bentley about her bill. And it's a bill we've already covered with the Senate sponsor, Senator Gary Stubblefield, several weeks ago. This is the bill to essentially ban the sexualization of children at public events when it comes to these drag shows or other things that the depraved left maybe hasn't thought of yet when it comes to parents taking their kids to these sexually explicit shows, classifying them as adult businesses if they do so, and kids aren't allowed in those types of venues. So we'll be talking to her about that. But, I mean, the Capitol is abuzz with talk about Senator Matt McKee asking a trans woman what kind of genitalia she has, male anatomy or female anatomy. Let's just get right to it, shall we? And we'll go ahead and take a listen to this.
Telling us that you're unfamiliar with the large body of medical evidence of the harm that has come upon people that have gone through these processes?
I'm familiar with a large body of evidence that shows that providing good affirming care saves lives.
Are you saying that you're unaware of the large body of medical evidence of the harm that has come upon these people in these processes that have been gone through? Are you unaware of that body of evidence?
I will repeat what I just said.
Are you unaware of that body of evidence?
I will repeat what I just said.
You said that you're a trans woman.
I trans female, yes, ma'am, sir.
Do you have a penis?
That's horrible.
You're the one that brought that into the discussion.
I never said anything about genitalia.
Oh, it has everything to do with genitalia.
I don't know what my rights are for right now.
Audience, if you want to stay in here.
I don't know what my rights are, but...
Oh, man, how dare you bring something that is extremely relevant into this conversation? This is, by the way, the witness at the end of that table is allegedly a doctor, okay? And she's testifying that these gender surgeries where we remove the genitals of minors, no big deal. Everyone loves it. If they have regrets, it's just because their family didn't support them. And we're going to get to those comments here in a minute. But just fundamentally, what this is a mirror. The question that Senator Matt McKee asks needs to be asked because, honestly, look, we're showing them a mirror of the ideas and the things that they advocate for. Basically, that's all he was doing by asking that question, and they don't like their own reflection. That's what this is about. They don't like the image that Matt McKee, Senator Matt McKee, forced them to confront, who they really are, which in this case is somebody who is got male genitalia dressed up as in feminine clothing. So anyway, let's get to the full clip because there's a lot of context to get to here. And this is a national story now. It's gone national. It's gone viral. YouTubers everywhere have picked it up. People are calling Senator Matt McKee a hero, a based hero confronting the woke agenda here in Little Rock. Matter of fact, Conservative Arkansas Media, we're going to do our best to get him on the program next week to talk about this. And any follow-up that I'm sure is going to happen from now. The bill passed at a committee. What the bill would do, I can go ahead and show it to you on the screen here. The bill would, let me make sure I've got the right one. Yeah, here it is, SB 199, once again by Senator Gary Stubblefield, who's actually the chairman of the Judiciary Committee that you're watching there. But Senator Terry Rice was assuming the gavel. I'm sure Senator Rice had no idea he was going to end up in a viral internet video the one time he's he's taking the gavel. But it's Senator Stubblefield's bill, so he can't chair his own committee meeting. But it did pass. But what this is going to do is essentially make doctors like this trans, quote, woman, end quote, that were at the end of the table that you just heard, going to make them liable for medical malpractice. They're going to be able to be sued by the patients, especially if you're a minor and you get this surgery done and you have big regrets, because what we have to remember is, a lot of these people are giving up the ability to have children at an age when, according to some studies, the human brain isn't fully developed until you're 25 or 26, according to some studies, but who knows? I actually think that just keeps getting bumped up. Maybe a example of extended adolescence, considering you had 18-year-olds that were in World War II jumping out of planes and fighting for the country. But nonetheless, there are some studies that show that. But certainly, if you're 18 years old and you've bought into propaganda and the media clapping like seals as you only hear one message, you have no idea. I mean, we fully admit that it's a life-altering event for a 16-year-old per se to get pregnant. That's something like very life-altering, but in today's society anyway. But can you imagine eliminating the possibility of having kids, whether it's the chemical castration where your bodies are never going to be the same again, or whether it's the bottom surgery, and I'm only using their terminology because we're on Facebook, whether it's the bottom surgery that a man can get, giving up their ability to reproduce. You talk about well, I'm not going to say that, but anyway, let's get to the full clip. Here is, I wanted you to see the full context with this. I wanted to start with Senator Alan Clark and what he had to say about this. But no, actually, before we get to Alan Clark, let's get to the doctor herself. Let's get to the doctor.
The table.
Here.
Right there, yes. Please identify yourself. Make sure your button's lit up, and tell us who you are, who you're with, and you're recognized to speak for 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Gwendolyn Page Herzig, owner and pharmacist at Park West Pharmacy in Little Rock, Arkansas. I've lived my entire life in Arkansas, born in Newport, raised in Northeast Arkansas, and have completed my doctoral degree at UAMS in Little Rock. I'm still happily married to my high school sweetheart, have 2 daughters, ages 3 and 6, both rotten, and I'm also intimately familiar with disadvantaged communities, and myself a transgender female. Before voting on this legislation, I highly encourage you to first stop into my pharmacy, visit with me so I may dispel any unknowns and share my experiences of those in my community. My staff and I are always readily available to serve, and we are conveniently located in West Little Rock. If anything, you can always stop at Trader Joe's and say it wasn't a wasted trip. In my practice, I have not experienced a single instance of a patient regretting their transition or starting puberty blocking medication. I have hundreds of patients currently on hormone replacement therapy that identify as being in the transgender community, each happy to have the opportunity to be themselves and stave off the chronic dysphoria that plagues them. The biggest obstacle that the transgender individual faces is the lack of empathy, affirming care, and resources to help them succeed in life. Bills like SB 199 are designed to hinder, not help Arkansans, by creating barriers to evidence-driven health care they deserve under the guise of protecting the young and innocent. As a youth who experienced tremendous dysphoria since the age of 12, this is horrific. I was fortunate enough to develop a positive coping mechanism through my adult years to the age of 30.
It's horrific, but it's not horrific to go through the surgery. That's interesting. I wanted to play this for you, give you the full context of what these legislators on this Senate Judiciary Committee were being subjected to. Okay, they're literally being subjected to somebody saying that black is white and the sky is not blue. You get the point. And Senator Matt McKee had apparently had enough, and again wanted to essentially, expose this whole thing as being the sham that it is. This, to say that it's based on phony presuppositions doesn't even begin to describe this. Okay, and by the way, she is bringing up the fact that this is not just about the surgeries, the bottom surgery. This is also about prescription drugs that would then, be used to medically, chemically castrate children. That's the term. So anyway, back to this news. Again, this story going viral. Little old Arkansas getting a little bit more publicity here for, again, I said this, and I've said this a while now, the government and the state government using the power that they have to save children and to legislate the protection of our children is back in style. And it's not going to stop.
Of insistent goal setting to distract myself, which turned into anxiety-ridden OCD. But many are not as unfortunate as I have. Many develop severely destructive ways of coping via substance abuse, social isolation, poor hygiene, and many more. I would also like to point out that this bill references Sweden, Finland, France, and the United Kingdom with medical authorities. Those medical authorities are not defined in this bill, and as much as I value collaboration, the United States of America have their own 20 medical authorities that I can list or are available for your reference at the Transgender Legal Defense and Education website. And I would probably go as far to say a vote for this bill is unpatriotic and casts doubts on our own health and research institutions who have worked through healthcare fields.
Yeah, because everybody has a ton of confidence right now in American medical institutions, let alone medical institutions across the globe. But, over the last 3 years, boy, that confidence is just, everybody's got way more confidence over the last 3 years than they do right now. Oh, man. It's unpatriotic to vote to save kids from this or to vote to allow them a path to sue these doctors. See, doctors are really touchy about medical malpractice, and they don't like to do things that are risky, especially big healthcare conglomerates. They don't necessarily like to do things that are risky where you might get sued and lose money because they like money. A lot of these healthcare institutions, hospitals that reference Christianity or have Christian names and that sort of thing really like the bottom line. And let's not pretend that this is just some sort of abstract thing that's not affecting Arkansans. We have our neighboring state of Tennessee has been in the news. Vanderbilt Hospital been in the news for doing these procedures on minor children. Back to the testimony.
To improve the lives of Americans. In closing, I would like to circle back around to inviting you to my pharmacy.
Need to wrap up over your time. I'll let you go ahead and wrap up.
Sorry, is my closing. In closing, I would like to circle back around to inviting you to my pharmacy, a refuge for those who have too few resources.
Once again,
Again, I'd love to provide you a new perspective.
You were not aware of anyone that was unhappy. Are you unaware that there is a large number of people in this country who are unhappy?
I follow multiple social media sites for those who detransition and those who do detransition, and I've not had any instance in Arkansas. It's generally because they have the lack of family support or resources, not necessarily because they've regretted the decision that they made.
All right, so there it is. So Senator Clark saying, don't you, people do regret these surgeries. They regret taking the medication. And she says, well, if they do, it's just because their parents didn't love them enough. Again, being subjected to this kind of reason is why Senator McKee does what he does here in a moment.
You're speaking for those people that's what you're going to tell me right now, is that you're speaking for those people. I've met a number of them who detransition or want to detransition, that it wasn't because they're unhappy, that it's just because of lack of family support.
Family support and resources. Transitioning is hard. It takes a lot of resources to be able to do it and achieve certain goals. And so,
the resources aspect of this, there are certain groups now in the LGBTQ enclave who are trying to get funding mechanisms. There's these little, I think sometimes, according to reports, there are these para-school or para-educational sites that are like, if you want to transition but you're afraid your parents won't, then we'll fund it. We'll find a way. There are people that are now trying to, they're acting in this benevolent way that are trying to say, well, if you don't have the money, we can get you the money to go against what your parents want. And that there are reports out there like that, and it's very disturbing. So you never know. Just because you cut off the financial resources or you think you're in the control of this, there are other organizations out there. So when she says lack of support and resources, that might be one to where if you had more money, you could essentially maybe, get more powerful drugs or get better testosterone or go ahead and go through with the whole thing, whole enchilada.
Oh.
That's interesting because that's not at all what their story is.
Oh, well, I'm in the community with lived experience, so I have a better understanding.
No. You're in the community, but you said you didn't know anyone.
Not in the state of Arkansas.
And I do.
Okay.
And so what you said about their mindset does not represent the people that I know who have detransitioned or want to detransition. So
to each their own.
I appreciate that what you know and the people you know, but the testimony about why people are doing this, I think, is completely off base.
I take care of hundreds of patients throughout the state of Arkansas. I'm the main resource center in my pharmacy serves as so my view and my patient base, I'm sure, is far greater than yours.
Senator McKee, you're recognized.
Okay, and that was the last straw. My view and my patient base is far greater than yours. Enter Senator Matt McKee.
Are you telling us that you're unfamiliar with the large body of medical evidence of the harm that has come upon people that have gone through these processes?
I'm familiar with a large body of evidence that shows that providing good affirming care saves lives.
Are you saying that you're unaware of the large body of medical evidence of the harm that has come upon these people in these processes that have been gone through? Are you unaware of that body of evidence?
I will repeat what I just said.
I mean, so it's literally insane to just ignore the fact that there are people who have done this and have made decisions about their health care, i.e., chemical castration or removing, through mastectomies or bottom surgery, that people don't do that and then totally regret it afterwards because it didn't solve their problems. There are plenty of people who have done that, and she's just refusing to acknowledge it. And the Arkansas legislature and Matt McKee, they're like, wait a second, this is insane. And she just refuses to acknowledge that there are people. I mean, and need to acknowledge that you can't go back. I mean, the other side won't even acknowledge that if you do this, there is no going back. Even with the drugs, you're avoiding puberty, so your bones are never going to get to the density that they would have otherwise. Okay, here it is.
Are you unaware of that body of evidence?
I will repeat what I just said.
You said that you're a trans woman.
I trans female, yes, ma'am, sir.
Do you have a penis?
Oh,
that's horrible.
You're the one that brought that into the discussion.
I never said anything about genitalia.
Oh,
this
entire conversation
is about genitalia. That's what it is. Oh, then you heard somebody disgraceful. Anyway, that is the scuttlebutt on the Capitol over the last week, and there's a lot of other moving parts. There's a lot of other bills that are going on in there, down there for sure as well. But that is one that we had to highlight, and I wanted you to see it. We do have a great show for you. Again, I mentioned that we're going to be talking with State Representative Mary Bentley. We're also going to be talking with Senator Justin Boyd. He has a bill that's going to change the way raffles, going to make raffling more legal. We're going to get all the details from him later on in the broadcast. This is Conservative Arkansas Media, and my name is Paul Harrell. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can always go to Cam Media on YouTube if you don't get it on Facebook. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, and welcome back to Cam. We really appreciate you being with us for this week's Legislative Roundup. So a couple of weeks ago, we interviewed Senator Gary Stubblefield on his bill, SB 43, and that passed the Senate committee, and then it passed the House. And this was a bill concerning kids at drag shows and public businesses and that sort of thing. And it was a very popular interview. So it then went to the House where it was amended. And it is now passed out of the House committee, passed out of the full House, and now it's been sent back to the Senate as amended. So I thought I would reach out to the House sponsor of this bill. We have State Representative Mary Bentley is back with us. And State Representative Mary Bentley, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Happy to help, Paul. Thank you for the invitation for today.
First of all, thank you for running this bill, for being willing to tackle this issue, because I do know that it is a controversial one, at least, not among Republicans, not among conservatives, but it certainly is a controversial one, among the LGBT crowd. What can you tell us about what this bill has done and why it needed to be amended?
Well, we did the amendment because we were after Senator Stubblefield passed the bill, he and I both met with the Attorney General's office and some of the lawyers that we know at Alliance Defending Freedom. And so we want to pass legislation, but you know well that we want to be sure it passes through court and it's going to actually do what we want it to do and not just get thrown out and not accomplish the task that we had at hand. So after visiting with them and getting some wording from the Attorney General's office and from Alliance Defending Freedom, we spent 2 solid days working with them on every word, making sure that we got it as strict as we could to make sure we accomplished accomplish the goal. And to me, it accomplishes the exact same goal. It protects our children from sexually explicit things and helps to protect their innocence, is what my constituents certainly wanted. And the folks that we heard, it's been overwhelmingly, as you know, supported across our state in Arkansas.
Absolutely. And, so there's been a few firsts with this, drag queens coming to the end of committee tables and testifying, or at least up until this session. I haven't ever seen that. But talk a little bit about, so the word drag show, I think, was pulled out of the bill, and instead it's now about adult-oriented performances. And
Correct.
look, I'm all about it. It's got to pass the courts, because this is about protecting our children. So whatever we have to do, even if it's incremental, we're not going away. Well, what's going on right now with our kids across the country and in Arkansas is it's depraved, and it's putting kids on a path of destruction. And so whatever we got to do, we get a bite at the apple, we're going to get another bite at the apple. That's at least my mentality.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And I've told folks that were a little bit disappointed about us having to change the wording of the bill. And I talked with them. I said, we're doing our part here at the legislature. And I wish that we could pass a law and fix everything. But sometimes legislation is not going to fix everything. So I encourage all of my constituents to do what they did in Craighead County, where they cut the budget for the library that was going to have a drag queen story hour. So those things, we have constituents on the ground have got to push back with their local libraries and with their schools. And we're going to do everything we can here, but we're going to all have to work together to push back and protect our kids. I couldn't be more, I'm agreeing with you 100%. We've got to protect our kids, and we've got to protect them now. We're losing the messaging. We've got to get the word out there. We're done with this crazy mess, and we're done with them grooming our kids. Exactly what's happening. And so we've got to protect our children, protect their innocence, and nothing's really more important to me this session than working to do that.
I'm glad that you said that, because I've been kind of saying the same thing. And I feel like there's it just seems like a shift where people kind of realize this is not just in Arkansas. This is in Christian red states all across the country. There's legislation like this. And there's more legislation coming. I know we've got a medical malpractice one that's coming out of the Senate that was debated quite controversially, although it was just addressing the elephant in the room. And I'm talking about Senator McKee's comment, which we just covered in the last segment. But it seems to me that on these issues there is so much unity within the Republican Party here in Arkansas over stopping the madness. And Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said it in her State of the Union address. She said the difference really is a choice between normal and crazy. And I think we've had enough of the crazy.
I think you're exactly right. I think you're seeing all of this is possible because we've got some great leadership. I could not be more proud of Senator Sanders than I am right now. She's been a great leader, pushing forth exactly right. It's crazy. All of it's crazy, and we've had enough. Enough is enough. I can't tell you how many times I heard that during this past primary. Enough is enough. We've got to protect our kids, and we're tired of people just sitting around and not getting anything done. We've got to stand up, be bold, be conservative, and push for the right reasons. And the left's not going to give up. The woke crowd is not about to give up. We have got to push back. We've got to keep pushing back. And we've got a great legislature this day. I'm really excited about the 94th General Assembly. We're going to get some great things passed, and I just know I've got my wheels thinking after we saw such great success so early on. There's just really no telling what we can get accomplished this session, all of us working together.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That seems to be the case. Matter of fact, and I know the session, I guess, what are we? This is February, middle of February. So do you have anything else? Is there anything else? It doesn't necessarily have to be about, protecting our kids, but if it is, great. But is there anything else in the works that you're working on that you want to share with the audience today on CAM?
Well, things that I'm working on, I just really wanted to focus this session. I was so blessed this summer when we had the Roe versus Wade decision came out, and we were able to become a state that bans abortion. That's been really a priority of mine since I've been in the session. I thought we've got that accomplished. That's really a great thing. We've got to continue to work on that front as well. But what are the things that are going on with our kids? And so I'm a registered nurse. I worked at Children's Hospital 14 years. So I'm really passionate about our kids, and we have a very high rate of SIDS in our state. We have some high maternal mortality. So those are things that I'm going to be focused on in the next few weeks. What can we do to shift that in our state and get our state healthier and decrease the number of SIDS, that's sudden infant death syndrome, going on in our state, and maternal deaths? What can we do to face that? So I'm going to be working on that. But again, as I saw these bills moving through and just get to know our new legislators here, we've got to, I'm going to be drafting some more legislation. There's just an opportunity. We cannot miss this opportunity that we have in
Absolutely.
the 94th General Assembly.
Yeah, you only got two, every 2 years we got to wait, for, and it
right.
seems like the left goes crazy within those 2 years, and we're always having to address it.
Right.
after the fact. So I think some of this stuff is proactive, don't you? I mean, some of this stuff is we're attempting
Oh,
to
sure.
get out in front of what the left is doing.
Yeah. Again, they're not going to quit, so we've got to get pushing back. I can't agree with you 100%. People say it's not happening in Arkansas. There's a lot more happening in Arkansas than we realize, and we've got to be proactive and do what we can. Again, this great General Assembly, get some good things done for our state. We've got a great governor. Things are got some great momentum moving forward. So what can we do to make Arkansas better? We love our state. Wouldn't want to live anywhere else. So what can we do in this chosen time to get some good things done? And that's including cutting back on spending. Where can we? That's going to be my focus now. What can we look at there? Because some things we're going to have to do to be able to be fiscally sound moving forward.
No doubt. And addressing these issues first makes the spending a lot more palatable, I think. Addressing the spending, which has also been a problem. State Representative Mary Bentley, we appreciate you coming on the program. It's great to talk to you again, and thank you again for all the great work that you're doing.
Oh, thanks for what you're doing. Have a great day, and God bless.
Yes, ma'am. God bless. Folks, we're going to be right back with Senator Justin Boyd. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to Conservative Arkansas Media. I'm Paul Harrell. Joining us now, we're going to talk about a piece of legislation having to do with raffles here in just a moment with the sponsor of a bill, Senator Justin Boyd. And he joins us now. Senator Boyd, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you, Paul?
I'm doing great. I want to talk about your raffle bill, but before we do, I've been trying to ask legislators as much as I can when they come on the program that it is really great to have Sarah Huckabee Sanders in the governor's office. She is a conservative, and when she said in the State of the Union response, that the choice is between normal and crazy, I just thought, wow, this is amazing. We have somebody who is saying what we're all thinking. The people that live here have representation. Well, what are your thoughts?
I agree with you completely. I think it's wonderful that she's our governor, and I've been watching her, and she is, when she says something, she does it, and she means what she says. And I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to continue to work with her. And I don't feel like if I go file a bill that's a conservative bill that, I have a lot of concern. Hey, what's the governor going to think about that? I feel like she'll let us know, and she'll be supportive of good conservative legislation.
Absolutely. And speaking of good legislation, let's talk about this, okay? A lot of people, and I'm curious as to know, like, where I'm going to throw this up on the screen for people to see. This is your bill. It is SB 217, an act to amend the Charitable Bingo and Raffles Enabling Act to authorize the electronic advertising of raffles and for other purposes. So every bill, most of the time, starts with a problem. So why don't you share with us what the problem is and why we need to pass this legislation on raffles and bingo?
Okay, so this was brought to me by someone who wanted to sell raffle tickets and wanted to use modern technology. And currently, I'm just going to read to you just real quick what the current law says. No raffle ticket shall be sold through the mail or through the internet, email, fax, telephone, or any other electronic means. And so when I read that, it really feels like if it's not a person-to-person interaction, there's nothing you can do. And, so my 12-year-old came to me the other day and she said, "Hey, Dad, I'm selling raffle tickets for school, and would you like to buy one?" And I was like, "Well, sure I would, but hey, whatever you do, don't put that out on Facebook. Don't text your grandparents, and for sure don't send anybody an email, because you might very well be in violation of Arkansas law if you do that." And so I will clarify up front, there is a distinction between selling and advertising. And what this bill does is I researched it. It makes it clear that you can advertise. So if you're working for a charitable organization, you're an uncompensated volunteer, that if you say, "Hey, I'm Justin Boyd, and I want to help my local exchange club by selling a raffle ticket," and I put that out on Facebook, that it doesn't look like I'm in a situation where I might be playing gotcha by the government, right? So I did this, and then I find out later. It's just, I think the bill, when it was originally done, whenever this was done years ago, that it was probably appropriate at the time, but the world's changed a lot. And I just want to make sure that citizens aren't out there inadvertently doing things that might be a violation. And this bill makes it very clear what you can do, and I think pushes the envelope up to what we would be allowed to be able to do by federal law.
I think that's good. Now, And just kind of understanding the way raffle tickets work, my next question is there any big, giant, statewide special interest that might be opposed to such an idea?
Well, so whenever I originally filed the bill, there was a concern by the casinos because, again, there's a distinction between selling and advertising. And so what we wanted to do is make sure that we weren't enabling, somehow with state law, people to actually take what is intended to be a charitable raffle and turn it into an opportunity to, you know, go from charitable raffle to now we're doing online gambling. And so, yes, there were some concerns by casinos, but they've come to the table. They've worked with me to help me make sure this legislation is right. And I feel like they will be, some of them will be supportive, and I'm reasonably confident the rest of them will be neutral on it now that we've worked together. They now understand what the issue is, and just making sure we have updated language that clarifies what citizens are capable of doing.
Yeah, and raffle tickets are a way for charitable organizations to raise money, and that also includes like local veteran groups as well, right? And I would imagine that they are very much in favor of this.
Yes, I've not had any specifically reach out to me at this moment in time, but I would hope so. Their local veteran groups are certainly a group I had in mind when I filed this legislation. I feel like some of these things were already being done, and I just wanted to be clear that if you were doing this, if you're a local veterans group and you're putting something out on Facebook, that you're not in violation of Arkansas code when you do that.
No, and you're right. There are groups that are already doing this, and so this is good that they're not going to be technically breaking the law now. This is a big fix. Well, Senator Justin Boyd, I really appreciate it. Thanks for shining the spotlight on your piece of legislation. Do you know when it's going to run?
I'm hopeful that it's going to run in Insurance and Commerce tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I've talked to the chair, and I feel reasonable that we'll get a chance to hear it. On Thursdays we only have about an hour because Senate meets at 11. So unless some other bill that is ahead of it on the agenda runs long or something, I'm hopeful it'll be heard tomorrow.
All right. Well, really appreciate you coming on the program, and let's do it again soon.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you having me, and keep up the good work, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Folks, that's all the time we have for Conservative Arkansas Media this week. We'll be back next week. We're going to try to reach out to Senator Matt McKee, have him on the program, and talk about, everything that we talked about in the first segment. So thank you so much for listening, Arkansas, and we'll see you next week.